Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu5. Got a new book review for you today. This is Tactics by Gregory Koukl, 10th Anniversary Edition, a game plan for discussing your Christian convictions. Yes, uh, awesome book for several reasons. Let's run by some of those reasons. One, it's a very affordable book. Anywhere from $10 to $15, you can own this book in paperback, audio, or ebook. It's relatively short. It's not the Odyssey by Homer. It is a relatively thin book. Um, I don't want to say relatively, it is a thin book. I was reading this book and the Bible at the same time. I'll read a couple of chapters in this book, and then I'll read a couple of chapters in the Bible, switching back and forth, reading um, or listening to it on my way to and from work and while running errands, not for any extended period of time. I finished this book relatively quickly. I want to say maybe 2 weeks. I can't remember exactly when I bought it, but it was really quickly. I finished it pretty quickly, and it has good information. Uh, Gregory talks about different tactics you can use. He calls them with cool names like Columbo questions, ripping the roof off. Um, he has steamroller, watch your language, so what, infanticide, suicide. All these different tactics you can use to articulate yourself and to maneuver yourself within conversation. He talks about different situations, like maybe you're in a restaurant or a store, and how to talk to people in those situations. He talks about if you're in a university type setting and the professor is being hostile towards Christians, and how to handle that situation. Or if you're in a debate, or at least in his situation when he was in debates, and how he handled those situations. Um, Two of the concepts that I thought were pretty cool was let's see, was watch your language and so what. Watch your language is a concept that has nothing to do with vulgarity or cursing, but is about using new language that isn't overly used when talking about religion. A lot of times with atheists, if you use terms like God, forgiveness, Bible, they kind of tune out because, they don't really want to listen to you in the first place when it comes to that situation. And that's just old to them. That's old, worn out conversation that they've heard millions of times before. But if you use terms like, instead of Bible, original sources, instead of God or Lord, Jesus of Nazareth, instead of forgiveness, use clemency. Um, so using this new language kind of freshen things up and catch it. It's a little bit easier on the ears to people who are not believers. And the so what concept is basically not denying different arguments against you, but saying, what does that have to do with truth? Like, for example, you might get an atheist that says um, Christianity is false, Christians are all hypocrites. So, what does that have to do with anything? Christian people are broken. People go to church because they're broken, and the fact that some of them are hypocrites doesn't mean that it doesn't take away from the truth of the gospel. You might have an atheist that says the only reason why you're a Christian is because you're born in the United States. If you're born in Saudi Arabia, you would be a Muslim. Um, and you can just as easily say, so what does that have to do with anything? That doesn't take away from the truth of the gospel. In fact, in my opinion, this is something I thought of. You can do the same thing to them. You can say the only reason you're atheist is because you live in the Western world in the United States. If you're born in Saudi Arabia, you'd probably be a Muslim too. You can't really use that argument. Um, just because I was born in the United States doesn't take away from the truth that Christianity is true. We have evidence. You know, if I was born in fact, there are Christians in Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and stuff, and they are treated terribly, but they do exist. So there's a good possibility that I would be Christian in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia as well. But that is just a poor argument that doesn't prove or disprove or take any truth away from Christianity. It's just a argument that is used to push people off balance and to get defensive. So this is a cool book. Uh, Very affordable, very easy to listen to. The language is very digestible. I know in the book and a bottle of rum, the history of the New World, and 10 cocktails, they had a lot of language in there that was very foreign to me. I have a little bit of college education, but no degree, and the language was threw me off a little bit. They kept on using this term melancholy, and I was like, "What is melancholy?" Basically, it's an uncontrollable display of sadness, grief, or despair. But uh, I never heard that word before, and along with some others, but that's the one that pops into my head at the moment. But this book was very easy to understand, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think if you're going to be a Christian, you should have the ability to talk about your faith, whether in an evangelistic scenario or a apologetic um, um, situation. So basically, apologetics or apologist is someone who defends the faith. It's Greek. I can't remember the exact Greek word, but I know it sounds like apology, but it's not apology. It's apologetics. But this is a cool book. I think it's well worth the $10 to $15 that it takes to buy this book. I recommend the audio one because I'm extremely dyslexic and reading is difficult for me. Not impossible, but difficult. And I don't tend to enjoy reading because it is difficult. But they have an ebook, audiobook, paperback, and I'd recommend getting the 10th anniversary with the extra content in it. It don't cost a lot more or anything. So awesome book. I encourage you to get it. Um, and he teaches you many different situations, many different techniques, and how to handle those situations. But it's very digestible. It's not hard to understand. So that's it. I'm Satsu 5, and I'm out.